I would like to thank you for making the effort to remember and celebrate the 117 years of the Battle of Adwa victory, which is now increasingly becoming recognized as a definitive victory over world empire and colonialism. Everything is moved but memory, it is said, and the Ethiopian Heritage Society in America has done a great service by taking time and energy to organize this important education on the Adwa victory, which is a real African victory over empire and coloniality. At the same time, there are efforts to remember this day in Ethiopia, in the United Kingdom and South Africa and elsewhere. These are truly commendable, and I say congratulations to all involved in organizing and preparing the necessary education on Adwa victory that must continue every year without fail. I start with the inspiring words of courage and wisdom from Iteget Aitu Bittul and the ancestors. Iteget Aitu Bittul said, "I'm a woman. I do not like war, but I would rather die than accept a new deal." And the ancestors said they lost their history, so they died. A country without a historical memory is like a person without a head. Over a century ago, the Ethiopian people and the national leadership united like one person to defeat the foreign power that eyed to take over Ethiopia. The victory of Adwa is a victory that united a nation, the people, and the leadership, linking regions to regions, ethnic groups to ethnic groups, and people to people, and Ethiopia with the African diaspora. Internally, all the varied groups from Oromia to Eritrea were mobilized and contributed richly to the success of the Adwa victory by all Ethiopians through the depth and breadth of the land. This was not a victory of the leaders or one ethnic group. This was a national victory with a wider African and indeed world significance. It was and remains an exemplary episode in demonstrating what a united people can achieve with the support of the African diaspora and the anti-colonial forces in the West. Adwa was a major anti-colonialist battle fought by all Ethiopians under the skillful leadership of Emperor Menelik and Empress Taitu. This victory resonated well beyond the Ethiopian and indeed the African border. It represented the clash between colonialism and liberation on a world scale. Emperor Menelik called all to join. Those who are strong, support us with your strength. Those who are weak, support us with your prayers. It's remarkable, no Ethiopian was left. All were called to join the battle. The unity of all made the battle to end in half a day. Every year during Yekatit, Adwa can provide the occasion to appreciate fully the international significance of the Ethiopian victory over the world colonial project in Africa. The failure to put this victory in the context of the wider challenge which confronted Africa before, during and after the 19th century needs to be put right. Adwa victory highlighted Ethiopianism's anti-imperial colonial project and its significance. It is a matter of historical record that the Adwa victory signaled the beginning of the end of the scramble for Africa. This victory constitutes a crucial chapter in the record of African resistance and liberation. It armed generations of Africans with the confidence of victory to engage in resistance and liberation. It attracted attention as far as the Caribbean and the American, not to mention Europe and the rest of Africa. Adwa victory reversed the imperial colonial project's design to populate Africa with Europeans like they did with America. It deserves to be celebrated both as a significant episode in its own right and as a memory serving well the emerging communities of resistance in the African world, never again to surrender to colonial tyranny. The Battle of Adwa is not just a memory of the past, it continues to live on in the eternal river of time, as the best expression of Ethiopianism for resisting effectively the world imperial colonial project. This event, which took place 117 years ago by a relatively small and weak country against Italy, a formidable, highly armed and ambitious new colonial power supported by the major imperialist powers, is still relevant today. It is united and not divided Ethiopians that brought the victory to a full realization. It is the strategic thinking of the leadership that made a big difference. The support of the African diaspora contributed also immensely to the Adwa victory. The Adwa victory is a key pillar of the Pan-African Triple Helix, what I call the Pan-African Triple Helix. Adwa victory provided the African resistance history during the scramble for Africa. Hence, it becomes one of the pivotal helices or pillars for Pan-Africanism and Ethiopianism. The other helix is the World Union of Ethiopians or Africans, formed at the African Association in 1897 from the diaspora. The Pan-African Congresses that I classify as Helix II was founded by Sylvester Williams, who was in direct contact with Emperor Menelik at the time before 1896 and after. The third helix is the formation of the African National Congress, which celebrated its 100 years in 2012. This first liberation movement, called the African National Congress, or the ANC, was formed with spiritualism and Ethiopianism, acknowledged by the former President Mandela as follows. I quote, "Fundamental tenets of the Ethiopian movement were self-worth, self-reliance, and freedom. These tenets drew the advocates of Ethiopianism like a magnet, the growing political movement. That political movement was to culminate in the formation of the ANC in 1912. It is in this sense that the ANC, we trace the seeds of the formation of our organization to the Ethiopian movement of the 1890s. African American churchmen who went to South Africa in the 1890s arrived at a time when some African Christians were setting up churches of their own. This independent church movement was called Ethiopianism. Ethiopianism became a generic term to describe a whole range of the black man's efforts to improve his religious, educational, and political status in society. It became the concept that constituted Pan-Africanism from the 18th to the 20th century. The Adwa victory provided practical expression to Ethiopianism, that is, self-worth, dignity, unity, pride, resistance, confidence, self-reliance, and freedom from colonialism. African resistance history culminating in the Ethiopian history, that's the Adwa victory. I call it helix number 1. It came in 1896. The second, the World Union of Ethiopians, or Africans from the diaspora, Pan-African Congresses. I call them helix 2. They started in 1900. The first liberation movement, ANC, with the spiritualism Ethiopianism preceding its formation as its inspiration, 1912. Together, they formed the unity, the Pan-African unity. And to remove this, the Adwa victory must continue to remove the unity deficit in Ethiopia, to remove the unity deficit in Africa and complete liberation. We still find it hard to unite. Today, donorization divides Africans, not just as groups, but also at the African conscious agenda for unity and liberation is also donorized, hence sacrificed. Adwa victory is achieved through unity, resolve, and self-reliance. Let's continue to draw lessons from that endure, from Adwa, and build the African united and free future. Adwa victories to continue also Ethiopianism. Ethiopianism provided the foundation of Pan-Africanism by providing the spiritual public good for the anti-colonial movement in the Africana world. It provides, still to this day, the spiritual public good against the imperial colonial project that continues. It also provides, Ethiopianism can thus be revived to provide the spiritual public good also for the African Renaissance. From fragmentation to unity and Renaissance is a real challenge that faces Africa today. For Africa, continuing Adwa victory means continuing Ethiopianism as Pan-Africanism, and also as Ethiopianism for the African Renaissance, also removing coloniality for good in Africa, full unity and dignity by removing the current unity and dignity deficits in Africa, for Africa as a whole to prove a free liberation imagination, to provide and prove a full imagination, stop the donorized elite, allow the donorization of the African agenda. For Ethiopia, continuing Adwa victory means valuing, learning, and cherishing civic Ethiopian identity, and not use barriers and fences of ethnicity to express full civic rights. To learn to express civic rights directly with Ethiopianism, coupled with African identity. To continue to unite Ethiopia and learn to center her to be at the core of the African Renaissance by retaining what made Ethiopianism attractive: self-worth, confidence, self-reliance, dignity, freedom for unity and Renaissance for all. Adwa victory must continue as one of the key founding pillars of the Pan-African helix as a provider of Ethiopianism's spiritual public good by revitalizing self-worth, confidence, pride, self-reliance, and liberation among us free Africans. Adwa victory must continue to support in creating morally rooted liberation movements like the pillar of the ANC with strong values like the early ANC. So we need to have political parties and political movements that are morally rooted, that are spiritually rooted, and that also are for the people and for the well-being of the people, and not as it is now for providing goods for useless elites. Adwa victory must continue means reviving the pillar of Pan-African Congresses. Adwa victory continues means together the helices continue to contribute in building a strong and united, proud and free Africa. Finally, the spiritual values of Ethiopianism laid the foundation for Pan-Africanism to unite all Africans to fight colonialism and apartheid. The same values that Ethiopianism as Pan-Africanism has been founded with, self-worth and the rest, are also needed to realize the African Renaissance today by enabling Africa to emerge as an independent, strong and proud leader rather than mere follower of former colonial powers in the 21st century. I say let the Adwa victory continue. Learn through Adwa victory to remove division and realize fully the benefits of unity. I say long live Adwa victory. The Adwa victory must continue highlighting Ethiopianism for the African world. Wishing you great success and trust from here. Adwa victory will be a source of education annually without fail, and all will rally to take initiative and spread education on Ethiopianism with it. Adwa victory continues. Let's all commit ourselves to work and realize African unity, liberation and renaissance. This is the meaning of Adwa. That is Ethiopianism. That's why Adwa must continue forever. Thank you very much. Let's all keep strong. Thank you.